Welcome to the Vision by Protiviti interview. I'm Joe Kornik, Editor-in-Chief of Vision by Protiviti, our strategic initiative where we look at big topics that will impact businesses worldwide over the next decade and beyond. Today, we're focused on the future of work, and we're coming to you from the corporate headquarters of Bed Bath & Beyond in Union, New Jersey. The retailer operates 4 banners, its namesake, Bed Bath & Beyond, buybuy BABY, Harmon Face Values, and Decorist. I'm thrilled to be able to welcome John Hartmann, Chief Operating Officer of Bed Bath & Beyond and President of buybuy BABY, to the Vision by Protiviti interview. Welcome, John. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks very much for having me.
I'm also joined by my Protiviti colleague, Managing Director Tom Andreesen, who leads our firm's Chicago office. Tom and I will both be handling the interviewing today. So Tom, I'll turn it over to you to begin. Welcome to New Jersey.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Joe. Great to see you. John, great to see you too.
Good to see you, Tom.
Thanks for hosting us here today. You know, we've been through a lot the last few years, a lot of changes. But it's given maybe business leaders like yourself a rare opportunity to rethink their business, rethink your market, rethink how you do work.
Yeah.
So be curious, your thoughts on, those areas and, how those have impacted you.
Tom, great question. I think that, it's an understatement for all of us to say the last 2 years have been crazy. And so in the context of COVID, this company under the leadership of Mark Tritton has been going through a massive transformation. So Mark joined the company right before COVID struck, focused on a complete rethink of how we serve our customers and in the context of COVID. So I think a number of things come to mind. One is the magnitude of a transformation of this company in the context of a global pandemic. And that has really accelerated our focus on how we serve the customer. So, a few years ago, Bed Bath & Beyond was really behind the times, no real strength in the digital presence, and our absolute focus on accelerating our ability to serve our customer in that way. And I think probably two words come to mind: innovation and investment. And they've really been the cornerstone, not just for me in my role as the Chief Operating Officer and the President of BABY, but across the entire organization. They've really been the cornerstone to our thinking around investing in the customer experience and innovating to catch up and then get ahead.
So as we continue to evolve and come out of the tumultuous times of the last few years, what do you think are some of the key learnings?
Gosh, the interconnected world that we live in is obviously very clear now. So, a decade ago, we talked about globalization. We talked about how businesses could benefit and, in some cases, not from the global economy. Clearly, the pandemic has taught us that there are just massive implications for all of us if something happens that, as we've seen with COVID. Mm-hmm. And those, those learnings, I come back to probably those cornerstones of our transformation is that to really provide the customer with the experience that she expects, to provide the customer with that kind of modern, for us, retail experience, innovation and investment are things that just can never stop. Mm-hmm. And for us, historically, we're a company that has been underinvested in. We've not been on the cutting edge. Mm-hmm. And so I think those are big lessons, probably three big lessons for us. The interconnected world, and I'm sure we'll talk about the supply chain at some point. Mm-hmm. The importance of continuing to invest. You really just can't pause in the continuing innovation around how you serve your customer.
So obviously retail was rapidly changing pre-COVID. And as you're touching on, it's been expedited during the past couple of years during the COVID situation. So let's think ahead though. Let's think 10 years out, 2030. Yeah. What does retail look like then, John?
Who's got a crystal ball? But look, we've been thinking about the future. And broadly speaking, for me, what comes to mind is I can picture in my mind some overlapping circles. And I think of obviously clearly in one of those circles is the customer. And then I think in another circle is data about the customer, data about what they desire. And then in the third is the products and services that we provide. And I think about those connected, overlapping, integrated circles and everything that goes with them. So the customer and their desires, the products and services, the data that is, the product data, the content around the product, where is the product in the supply chain, all of the ancillary aspects of kind of how retail comes together. And I think our focus is, in the context for our company, our focus is on how those overlapping circles come together in the next 10 years.
So you've kind of touched on this a little bit already, but retailers are going to face risks and barriers as they do try to evolve 10 years out plus. What do you think some of those risks and barriers are, and what are retailers going to have to do to overcome some of those?
Yeah, I think resiliency comes to mind immediately in a lot of ways. So risks and barriers, Tom, I think let's just launch right into supply chain. There isn't a product, in many cases a services organization, that hasn't been in some way impacted by the issues around global supply chain. For us, the products around us are very important to our customers, are very important to the business, and they come from various places in the United States and around the world. And so I believe that thinking through the risks of getting your products and services to your customers has never been, obviously it's an understatement, it's never been more important. Right. And so how you fortify your plans, how you diversify your risk are really, you guys are also in the risk business, so you know that the importance of supporting your clients with thinking through the risk that is a potential. A related point is the third parties that we work with. So yes, manufacturers and suppliers, but they're in the data realm, we have massive relationships with third parties that are an integral part of our ultimate the way we run the business and ultimately how we serve the customer. And I think there's a lot of inherent risk and growing risk in how we need to connect ourselves with trusted third parties. But from a technology perspective, from a data security perspective, there are very significant risks there as well. Right. There's a couple that come to mind.
Yeah. No, great, thank you.
John, considering where we're sitting, I think we should talk a little bit about stores and the consumer and the future of retail. So as you look forward, let's say to 2030, what can we expect?
Look, I think that there was a time when, as the digital business expanded massively and quickly here and abroad, there was a thought that maybe stores are a thing of the past. And I think that clearly that thinking, at least the thinking about that, the philosophy about that, is the pendulum's kind of swung back in the other direction. We believe, and the data shows us, and I think the data is a great place to start. Research tells you that stores are an integral part of a customer's expectation for most businesses. Not all, but for most. And for us, it is stores are a foundational element of our omni approach to how we serve our customer. So, so how is that going to change? I think the expectations that customers have in stores has been elevated. It is, we're coming out of the pandemic. People have returned to the stores in large numbers, and the experience they want is evolving. As it, when I was a kid, there was no digital. It was just a store. Now it's, we have this great diversity in how we can serve our customers, and our customers expect to have a great experience however they choose to interact with us. Whether it's on the app, whether it's on the website, whether it's in the store, or a combination thereof. From a store perspective, we believe we need to elevate our game. We are in the process of renovating hundreds of stores across our fleet. We are in the process of designing new components of our store. So I think this will continue to elevate our presentation of our products and services to our customers to meet their expectations.
Right. What if we go a little further out? What if we talk about a decade out? Customers are evolving. The whole process from a consumer standpoint, I think, is obviously a natural evolution. Where do you think that the customer will be in 2030 and beyond, and how do you sort of meet them there?
That's a great question. I think it goes without saying customer today is different than the customer a decade ago, and for a lot of reasons, COVID, but just the upcoming generation of consumers they're digitally native. They've grown up with a phone or a tablet or a device in their hand. That's one of their principal ways of interacting. And as they evolve, and we have young adult children. We know that as they've evolved, that's how they enter the shopping experience. So where we meet our customer is, I think, is really important, and that's how they want to interact with us. But they're looking for more than just a transaction. It's not just about a product. Customers today want to know about the companies that they're doing business with. They want to know what their stance on the environment is, what their ESG strategy is, what their commitment to the community is, and how they interact with not just them as an individual customer, but how we interact with the community that is all of our customers. And that's a really important part of our focus as well. You know, the one additional thing that I would add is that we want to, I think, looking that far out, looking 10, 20 years out, we need to be able, based on what we know today, we need to be able to allow our customers a very fluid relationship with us. In other words, they want to move in and out of how they, whether it's in a store, whether it's online, whether it's on the app, they want to be able to have a very seamless experience with us because they've grown up digitally. And so if they choose to step into a store, that digital presence, the content that we can deliver, the personalized information that's, you know, geared and curated directly to their needs is what I believe what their expectation is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So John is COO of Bed Bath & Beyond, president of buybuy BABY. You have teams, and you've touched on this, you have teams that are transforming and improving the business through, you know, some efforts focused on supply chain, procurement, technology.
Yeah.
You know, and those are ever changing. You hear about it in the news. They've been hot button issues. You've touched on the supply chain. How do you look at those challenges now, and how do those areas evolve into the future, maybe from a challenge perspective?
Yeah, my home base is going to be the customer, so I'll start there. Everything we're doing, the innovation that we're bringing, the investments we're making are geared on probably two things. One is the direct customer experience, and the second is how do we empower our associates to give the customer a better experience. Mm-hmm. But there's some really basic fundamentals that we're in the middle of. You know, it's not an overstatement to say we're doing a complete redo on our supply chain. So we're going from a historical supply chain that was geared toward cost, which isn't a bad thing. You want to have an efficient, cost-effective supply chain. But for modern retailing, speed is really important. So we are migrating from what I would say is more of an antiquated supply chain model domestically to be able to replenish our stores and our fulfillment centers and get product directly in front of our customers in the store or to their front door through our direct-to-consumer fulfillment in a much faster way. So, you know, the introduction of same-day delivery, the introduction of buy online, pick up at store, the introduction of curbside, all of those things have rapidly evolved for us over the last couple of years. But now we're thinking about how do we further cut time out of our supply chain from going from an average of 30 days or more for domestic replenishment to a store to under 10 days for key items by moving the products into a supply chain that's closer, that brings the critical products closer to the customer. Technology is another great example. So, you know, it's like a heart and lung transplant. We're going from, you know, an older, antiquated data center grounded technology footprint to a cloud-based, cutting-edge, you know, modern computing capacity model, and and it's everything. Mm-hmm. New ERP, new end-to-end merchandising systems, new supply chain and control tower visibility across our supply chain, to name a few. So it's between supply chain and technology, just massive redo. Mm-hmm. And you know, in some ways, probably 50% of it is bringing us to where we need to be, and then a good portion of it kind of preparing us for serving the customer in the future.
You know, it's absolutely amazing, that amount of change. And you touched on the employees, associates.
Yeah.
You know, as a leader, you're also helping transform through cultural change. And, you know, with everything we're hearing about talent shortage, retaining talent, transitioning into this new work environment and how multi-generations react to that, that just adds another element to your very full plate as a leader. How concerned are you about, you know, retaining, attracting talent, employee engagement, and then even that culture change that's occurring?
Yeah, I'll start with the last part of your question around the culture, because it has been an intense focus for us. And Mark brought to this organization not just a plan to transform the company from a customer-focused perspective, but really to transform how we as an associate population serve our customer. And it has been a journey from day one, and it's been founded in transparency and authenticity. And he has brought that, and he has, and the entire leadership team is committed to this approach. And it's a market, when we talk to our associates, it's a dramatic and market change from how, the previous culture of the company. And, timing's everything. And then, of course, COVID hit in the early days. Super proud as a leadership team to see that we've not dropped the ball in terms of the cultural transformation of the company. And this isn't my feedback. This isn't me saying this. It's the feedback that our associates and our teams are providing to us that have actually helped mold our approach to how we work with and guide our organization. Let me give some specific examples, because I do want to come back to the risk part, because we are, definitely concerned about talent retention, about just the availability of talent and so forth. But, culturally, we've embraced a very inclusive organization, and these are not just words for us. This is actually how we show up in the workplace. This is how we show up as leaders and set a role model and example for our associates in participating and committing to, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Helping to create and craft associate resource groups focused on particular parts of our organization where our associates are telling us we need to put more attention here. And so these are a couple of examples of our real commitment to a transformation of the culture that's as important because it's supporting the actual transformation and driving the transformation of the business.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense.
And Tom, back to the other part of your question, talent is just a daily discussion. Mm. It is even pre-pandemic, the strength of the economy in the U.S. And many parts abroad, the very difficult battle for talent is upon us, and I think COVID has accelerated that. Mm-hmm. And so we are. One of the things that I just saw come across our email last night was a terrific new program that our people and culture leaders have put in place for our associates around self-guided development. So we have, as many companies do, we have a great process around personal development and an annual performance review, which provides associates with feedback and guidance on how they grow and share the responsibility for their own career. But we've taken it to the next level around helping and providing the tools for different modes of self-guided education and different modes of self-guided development to complement our existing process around talent development. And we think that today's associate is really, like our customers, is interested in more than just a job. Mm-hmm. They want to feel that emotional connection. They want to feel that they belong, and it's a place that they feel like they fit, and that they not only contribute, but it's like home. And we call this corporate headquarters our home at 650. So, that's, I think, just one example of the doubling down on building the connective tissue with our associates so that they feel like they're part of something bigger than just showing up to work. Yeah,
very important as part of the overall strategy then. So continuing on with the people topic then, so again, fast forwarding, looking out 2030 and beyond, what are some of the high demand skills and experience that you see retailers needing? And then you've touched on what you're all doing, like around self-development and giving them the opportunity to do that, but how do you see development and training kind of supporting this evolution 2030 and beyond, where hot demand is for skills and experience?
Yeah, and for us, there's probably three buckets of different talented human beings that we need in our organization. We have a whole group of people that work within our supply chain. We have a whole group of people that work within our stores, and then we have a whole group of people that work in the supporting functions of both of those organizations, supply chain and stores. So, the talent in the skills necessary are very diverse. So there's a need for diversity in all sense of the words, but diversity across the skill set. Focusing on our stores, I mean, retail is a people business, and individuals that bring that passion every day to our stores, they bring the passion to supporting our customers. They have you look around, some of the products are complex, some of the products aren't, but some of the products are complex, and the ability to communicate face-to-face interactions with customers is a very unique skill, and some people really love it and excel at that. We need a lot of those people, with pushing 1,000 stores in the country. From a supply chain perspective, again, we need a very diverse set of skill sets, from individuals that look after direct-to-consumer orders, individuals who manage and teams of individuals who are working within the warehouse organization, and then other skills around material handling equipment and moving products within a facility and across across the country and across the globe. And then in the corporate setting, look, I think data and analytics are probably come number one to the top of my mind, and the extreme need in modern business and modern retailing to understand consumer behavior, be able to analyze it, and then adjust your products, adjust your services, adjust the location of your inventory to meet the needs of the customer is an extreme need. And data and analytics will certainly be, I think, in the top 3 or 4 for a very long time. Mm-hmm. Another area of importance is in the technology area. And I think we've heard a lot about machine learning, we've heard a lot about artificial intelligence, but these things are real. And from a implementation we're doing right now around supply chain control tower, which for the first time in our company's history will give us absolute visibility to where our products are located across the entire supply chain, from order placement to the time it shows up at a customer's front door or goes to a store. And the visibility is one thing, but the ability for the system to actually guide you and provide options around how you best place your products in the supply chain, how you meter and measure them, is super critical. And I think that's just one example. So individuals that have talents in data, analytics, technology to complement our supply chain and our store needs, I think are a focus for us.
I'll be signing up. Where can I sign up?
We're ready for you.
Well, John, you've been very forthcoming in your answers, and we've talked a lot about the future here, and this has been fantastic, and we really appreciate you taking the time to do it with us. But we're not going to let you out of here without a bold prediction or two. We call this Vision by Protiviti because we like to bring smart people together and have them give us their vision of the future. You've done that quite a bit, but I'd like you to go out a little further if you could, 2030, 2035, as far out as you want to go. Talk to me a little bit about what's possible. What haven't we thought of when we think about the future of work and the future of retail? What do you think is possible?
It's a tough one, because as I said earlier, no one has a crystal ball, but I'll give it a shot. And sometimes it's best when you're looking forward to look back a little bit. And I think if we look back, I don't know exactly how long, but let's call it 20 years. There's a business concept that I think was grounded originally in strategic planning called ecosystem. And I think that, and I'm not an expert on what that meant then, but I'm reflecting on your question and thinking about what's in my head today and how that might impact the future. What we're seeing today, which I think will evolve rapidly, even more rapidly in the next decade, is how individual companies and how unrelated companies come together in an ecosystem to build a basket of product and services that better support and serve their customers. They could be shared customers or they could be new customers. But I think that the evolution of how companies partner and how companies work together or acquire new businesses or build new capabilities, all with the focus on filling different components of an overall approach to serving a customer's needs. I think that is really I believe that's going to accelerate, and we're going to see a lot more of it. And an example is we've recently publicly announced our collaboration with the Kroger organization, and so now you're seeing on Kroger's digital marketplace Bed Bath & Beyond products, buybuy baby products available now to the multitude of Kroger customers. So you take the largest grocer in the United States, you combine it with the brand authority of Bed Bath & Beyond and buybuy baby, and collectively we think that collaboration will be great for both companies. And then I think that is one single example of what could be many types of examples of companies working together to apply their collective force to an ecosystem focused on a particular customer set.
Fascinating. John, thanks for doing this. We really appreciate it.
It's
Thanks
been
for the
great. You
time.
guys, it's great to have you
Been
here.
fun, yeah.
And
Fun to be
good,
here.
Good to see you both.
It's you.
Thank you, and Tom, thanks for the questions. Thanks
Yeah,
for helping
thanks.
me out with
Fun
the
to do this
interview.
with you, Joe.
Yeah. And thank you for watching the Vision by Protiviti interview. For John and Tom, I'm Joe Kornik. We'll see you next time.